Yeah, so long story short, this morning was a good class, but I forgot to record it. And so we're going to basically do the same sequence that I taught this morning right now. And I guess if anyone from this morning's class ends up watching this again or somebody else watches it again, um, I'm going to try to stick to as many of the same alignment cues because I am attempting to go through this in a very specific way of how I instruct the alignment, starting generally starting at the feet and working your attention from the feet upwards to sort of correct from the closest point to the floor up. The tendency is that that has the most bang for your attention in terms of improving the pose. Like if you kind of mess with the legs or mess with the hips or the waist or the abdomen, but the feet aren't correct, the tendency is that um, ultimately you're what I feel like is I'm kind of squirming around trying to make something work, but if the feet are wrong, fundamentally it never really feels like it's working, like it never kind of sets in correctly. So a lot of what I'm going to go through with the home practice sequence is to start with the feet, start with what's close to the ground, and work up from there. These sequences, so today we're practicing sequence number 2, level 1, sequence 2. Again, these pre-made sequences are openly available on the Iyengar Institute for the US, INAUS, and the Iyengar Institute for New York's, the Association of Greater New York have these sequences openly available. So I'm practicing along with these, and I realized that I missed Vrikshasana tree pose on the previous class. So it's nice because it fits very well in as the first pose in this sequence. So we'll begin. We're going to go through sequence 2, start to finish. It should be about an hour and 15 minutes or so. We're going to do most of the standing poses twice and most of the seated poses or the floor poses either once or twice. So it's about 13 poses total. And with that, we'll sit. Take any seated position. I'm going to sit right now in Swastikasana, simple cross legs, but you can sit in whatever way you like as long as the hips are higher than the knees. Turn the palms down on the thighs. And then close the eyes. Generally, the structure of our practice is that we begin, and I'm saying maybe more than I would normally say in a class because it's in some way I'm intending to give these little educational nuggets for a home practice. So if you're thinking about a home practice and if you're thinking about a class practice, we generally will start with something relatively quiet, either a restorative pose or just sitting and straightening out the back and sitting quietly with the eyes closed for several moments. And then typically the energy builds throughout a class, either builds up to a particular pose, like we're working towards a pivotal pose or like an apex pose for the sequence, where the poses, maybe there's a dozen poses in a sequence and we're building up, everything's building up to like pose number 7 or pose number 8, and then there's sort of a winding down and a correct release from that type of pose afterward. But that's one way to practice. And another way, generally speaking, though, is to start quiet, ramp up the intensity and the effort, and then after the peak of the practice, whether that be a specific pose or a bunch of poses, when the intensity decreases, then the actions and the efforts become subtler, the practice becomes quieter and subtler until eventually we end up in either shavasana or a restorative pose at the very end. So in the beginning here, we just start with the eyes closed. This acts as a interruption from the normal stream of consciousness of whatever came before, and it shows the mind that we're now practicing yoga. Lift the chest on the front of the body, take the shoulders down the back so that you extend from the back, neck, and top shoulder towards the elbow joint. And it's important to understand that sometimes I'll say roll your shoulders down your back, and it's more than just rolling the shoulders, because sometimes that rolling um, verb comes with a cycle or a circle in your mind. So it's like you roll the shoulders down and they slowly come right back to where they started. So it's almost maybe roll, it's like a half roll. You take the shoulder blades back, down, and then keep them down. Like you stick your shoulder blades towards each other and suction them forward on your back like you're pressing them into your lungs. And that, if you really get that, you can't help but feel the lift of the chest. You might even feel some spreading between the ribs and the sternum bone. And with the eyes closed, bring the hands together in the heart, the prayer position. And just simply chant the sound of Om once together to begin. So take a deep breath in. Om. And bow the head forward, release the hands. And slowly lift the head and open the eyes. And then release the legs forward once the eyes are open. And you're going to scoot forward off of your props. Anything that you were sitting on, you can move that off of your mat. So I have with me here a bolster, several blankets, and 2 blocks. That's the several blankets or 3. 2 is probably fine. If you don't have blankets, you would be great using like clean bath towels or just something a little stiffer than maybe like a couch throw blanket. I mean, those can work, but you'd want something a little bit more hardier than that. I have my 2 blocks behind me on the mat. Go ahead, come up to standing. We're going to start with Vrikshasana tree pose. We don't need any props for this pose, but it's good at this moment, like if you're watching a recording of this later on, to pause, get the props that you need. If you need to grab a couch cushion for a bolster, to act as a bolster later on, or thick bed pillows, you can grab that now and then resume. So we start Tadasana, bring the inner edges of the feet together. Turn the thighs in and lift from the kneecap to the top thighs. And that should bring a firmness to the knee joint. Take the weight back into the heels. So you feel your weight stacks directly over your heels and press the inner heels down. Release the toes, press the toes down and spread them forward. So feel the weight distribution on the feet, press down the inner heels, spread the toes forward, straighten the knees, and then lift the chest, have straight elbows, and extend from the back neck and the top shoulder to the pinky finger. And with that extension of taking the neck, back neck, and extending from the back of the neck through the back of the shoulder, back of the arm, all the way to the pinky finger, maintain that extension as you elongate the spine and lift the chest forward. So you see that as the chest extends up, straight up, the shoulders continue their extension downward toward the arms and hands. For Vrikshasana, we'll start with the right leg. So you'll be standing first on your left leg, turn your right leg out 90 degrees, bend up the right knee and use the right hand to help place the right foot high on the left leg. Ooh. Ooh. There we go. And you really want to get that foot as high and close to the groin as possible. Then once you've placed the foot, bring the hands together in prayer position in front of the body. Continue to spread the toes, the left toes, down and forward. So the right knee is bent up first. You spread the left toes down and forward. Press down the left inner heel. And now with your legs, your standing leg, press the standing leg into the foot, press the foot into the standing leg. And that should generate a response in your hips. You should feel the outer hips draw in. The hips become compact as you do that. If balance troubles you here, you could take your back to a wall. And then turn your hips to the left. See that both of your hips are the same distance, for one, from the wall in front of you, and secondly, same distance from the floor. So the tendency is that the left hip here, the standing leg hip in Vrikshasana, will come forward and go high. The tendency of the bent leg hip is that it drifts down and back. So turn the hips to bring the left hip back, and then lift up through the right hip crease. Keep pressing the leg, the foot and the leg together, and then release the foot. Use the right hand to help release the right foot. Bring the feet back together in Tadasana. Stand strong on the right leg and bend up the left knee. Use the hand to help place the left foot high on the right leg. If you were to go back to the wall for this pose, which is fine to do, you'd have your standing foot heel about 3 inches away from the wall. You have your hands together in Namaskarasana, prayer position in front of the body. Standing foot, press the inner heel down, press the toes down, spread the toes forward. Press the foot into the leg and press the leg into the foot. Turn your hips to the right. Lift up through the left hip crease. Spread the toes, press the inner heel down. Turn the hips even more, squeeze the outer hips in, not just from the hips. Look at this junction between, or look to this junction between your bent knee foot, like the bent knee leg's foot, and the standing leg. As you press those two together, that should automatically draw your hips in. Then use your left hand to help release by holding onto the left foot, release the left leg, stand in Tadasana. So now we're going to add the arms. Same pose, second time. Turn the right foot out 90 degrees, lift up the leg, bend the knee, use the right hand to help place the foot high on the left leg. Hands in prayer position in front of the body to begin with. We'll do the same actions. I'm going to add one thing with the knee here. So toes spread down and forward, press the leg and the foot together, turn the hips, and now without disturbing the position of the hips, press your bent knee down and back. Continue to press the foot into the thigh, thigh into the foot. Lift the chest. And now extend the arms to Urdhva Namaskarasana. Palms together, upward prayer pose. So you have the palms touching. Elbows straight. Get the hands to go a little bit back of the ears. Now the elbows straight is the priority. So even if your arms are in front of your face, but the elbows can be straight there, that's your priority. And then once the elbows are straight, you keep working the arms back. Lift the chest, extend up through the fingers, and then bend the elbows to bring the hands down. Use your right hand to help release the foot. Stand tall. Turn the left foot out 90 degrees. Use your left hand to help place that foot. Left hand holds the ankle and helps get that heel high up into the right groin. Hands in prayer position in front of the body to begin with. Press the right toes down, spread them forward, right inner heel presses down. Turn your hips to the right. Press the foot into the thigh, press the thigh into the foot. And now press this left knee down and back. And notice that your hips want to follow that pressure, that pressure down and back with the knee. So the hips actively turn to the right, The thigh and the foot continue to press into each other, and just the left knee presses down and back. And then we'll bring the arms into the final position by extending the arms up. Extend the elbows to straighten them. Palms press into each other, and the palms just come together cleanly. You don't hook the thumbs, you don't interlace the fingers, you just cleanly press the palms into each other. The tendency, if you hook the thumbs or interlace the fingers, is that the shoulders kind of go dead. By pressing the palms,
Alex, we lost your voice. What?
I wonder if there's a bandwidth issue or something, except we lose.
let's see, Chandler, can you hear me? You have a thumbs up? Okay, great. You know, I think what happened, these are like little Bluetooth speakers. When I had my arms overhead, the skin of my arms like grazed the button and turned it off. So hopefully you can still hear me. See if you can wave if you can hear me still. There we go. Okay, great. So for triangle pose, now you turn your feet to the left, or rather to the right. So you turn the left toes in, right foot turns out. I'm going to use blocks for this. And if you don't have blocks, of course, you could use several books, things like that. Extend the arms. So start at the feet, correcting and adjusting the pose from the feet up. You have to make sure that your left toes are turned in about 30 degrees. Your right foot is turned out 90. Check that your right instep is parallel to your mat. And then press the right toes down and spread them forward. Press the right big toe down, the right inner heel down. Spread the left toes forward and down, and press the left outer heel down. Now, in the last class, we talked about turning the thighs. So you pull up on the kneecaps, you keep your arms extended. I'm just going to signal here. You pull up on the kneecaps, double external rotation. Turn both of your thighs from the inside out. Keep pressing the right big toe, right heel as you turn the right thigh from the inside out. Lift the chest, extend over the right leg. Take the hand down to the brick, extend the right arm, the left arm straight up. Continue to turn the thighs. Press down that right big toe and right inner heel. I'll just call that the instep. Extend up through the left arm. Keep the shoulders rolling down your back. And then press the left heel. Inhale to come up. Turn the feet. Then turn the feet to the other side. So you make sure that the right foot turns in. Turn the left foot out 90 degrees. Press the toes down strongly, spread them forward. Pull up on the patellas, double external rotation. Turn both of your thighs from the inside out. It's especially important as you turn the left thigh from the inside out to keep pressing that left big toe down. And those two actions are paired together. As much as you turn the left thigh, the toe wants to become lighter. And as much as you press the toe, the thigh wants to roll in. So you have to blend those two actions. Lift the chest and extend over the leg. Take the hand down to the brick next to the leg. I've got the bricks at the second setting. Extend this right arm straight up. Continue to turn the thighs. Press the back heel, lift the chest. With the shoulders rolling down the back, extend up through the top arm. And then inhale to come up. Turn the feet and jump the feet back together. So we're going to repeat the pose again. I'm going to add one cue for the upper body. So you'll bend the knees, you'll bring the fingertips together. Inhale to jump the feet. Turn the feet. Lift the chest. Press the toes, lift up the kneecaps, and turn the thighs. Maintain that. Now lift the chest up even more. And as you extend over the right leg, keep lifting up through the right side of the body. Keep the distance from the ribs to the side, like side crease of the hip. Make that distance long, and then take the hand down to the brick. You'll keep your left arm up, but I'm going to use my left arm to point right here, this territory, about where your left armpit is. Take that armpit and those left ribs down and back so that the left side of the body becomes more equal in length to the right side. This would be the extreme opposite of that. The left side is way longer than the right. Take that left armpit down, extend through the right side of the body from the hip to the shoulder, and then keep pressing the right instep, double external rotation on the thighs. And then to come out, press the right heel, or rather the left heel, pull the left arm, inhale to come up, turn the feet, and turn the feet the opposite direction. Press down and spread the toes, press the back heel, press the front leg instep. Pull up on the patellas, turn the thighs. And then lift the chest. As you extend over the left leg, keep this left side of the body long. Once you place your hand on the brick, then take that right armpit, pull that right armpit down and back. So you roll the right ribs, the right side armpit down and back. Keep the knees straight, the patella is pulling up. And we'll just cycle through these actions one more time, starting at the feet. Press the toes down, back foot heel presses, instep on the left presses, turn the thighs out. With the ribs, take the right ribs down, roll them back, and then finally shoulders roll down the back, extend through the arms. Keep pulling that right arm, press the right heel, inhale to come up. And turn the feet, bring the fingertips together. Inhale to jump the feet back together. Good, so that was Utthita Trikonasana. The next pose is Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Same starting, so bend the knees, bring the fingertips together. Inhale to jump the feet wide. Feet underneath your hands. We're going to do the pose the first time with the hands on the hips. So take your hands to your hips and turn your feet to the right. Now with the hands on the hips, press from your left outer hip to your left heel and turn your left thigh from the inside out. And this action of pressing from your hip to your heel should mimic the action of tree pose. When you have the foot on the thigh and you press the thigh into the foot, that same pressure, that same outer hip pressing in toward the middle should be the same pressure that you apply here. Press the outer left hip in. Turn the left thigh, press the left heel. Keep that, press the right instep down, and elongate from the right groin to the right knee as you bend that knee by driving the inner knee forward. Extend the inner knee forward. Pull back from the outer right knee to the outer hip. So your inner leg elongates, your outer leg shortens. Or it tightens. I think tightens is a better word. And sit down deeper into the pose. Take the outer right hip straight down underneath you toward the floor under you. Keep the back knee straight. Lift the chest and turn the chest to the left so that the chest is square to the wall in front of you. So we'll cycle through the actions again. Straighten the back leg, turn the thigh, compact that back hip in, sit down a little deeper into the pose. And then inhale to come up, straighten the right knee, turn the feet. And now that you've turned the feet, lift the chest, extend from the right hip to the right heel. For that extension to work and to keep that extension through the whole pose, your right knee has to be straight. So pull up on that right patella, turn the thigh out, and that right thigh turning out starts that compacting in process of the right hip. Press the outer heel, and now to bend the to bend the left knee, press the instep on the left, extend from the groin to the left knee. As you bend that knee, keep the hands on the hips, and you can feel what's going on with your hips. I didn't say this on the other side, but the hips shouldn't turn toward the bending left knee. They should actually turn, the hips should constantly turn toward the back leg, toward the right leg. And you can feel what the hips are doing with your hands there. So turn your hips to the right as you bend the left knee deeper. And sit down a little deeper into the pose, taking the outer left hip straight down. Lift and turn the chest to the right, turn the hips to the right, and bend the left knee a little bit more until the knee is right over the ankle. We're going for the thigh bone being parallel to the floor. And then inhale to come up. Turn the feet, bend the knees, and jump the feet back together. We'll do the full pose now. So bend the knees, bring the fingertips together. Inhale to jump the feet line. And then turn the feet to the right. Extend the arms. Lift the chest. Press the back heel. Compact the back hip. Turn the left thigh from the inside out. And bend the right knee. Turn the chest from the left to the, or from the right to the left. Press the back heel, sit down deeper into the pose, and you're constantly elongating this inner groin. Elongate from the inner groin to the inner knee, pull from the outer knee to the outer hip. Turn the hips to the left, turn the chest to the left, lift the chest, and then turning just the head, look over the right fingertips. Inhale to straighten the right knee, turn the feet to the opposite side. Lift the chest, press from the left hip to the left heel, or rather from the right hip to the right heel, and bend the left knee. As that knee bends, the right knee must stay straight. Turn the right thigh from the inside out, keep that hip compacting as the left knee bends. And you're bending the left knee by extending from the groin to the inner knee, pulling back from the outer knee to the outer hip. Turn the chest to the right, turn the hips to the right. With that right knee straight, press the right heel, press down the left instep. Now lift the chest, turn the head to look over the left fingers. Sit down a little deeper into the pose. And inhale to straighten the left knee. turn the feet, and jump the feet back together. Stand in Tadasana, feet together, extend the arms. Okay, so that was Virabhadrasana 2. We're going to move on to Ardha Uttanasana, half forward extension. So I'm going to go to this wall. You will need a wall space for this. You'll take your hands to the wall. I'm placing my hands about at the height of my ribs. So about the height, I mean, that's a pretty broad range. So I'm placing them at the height of the lower floating ribs. I get my middle finger pointing straight up. Lift the chest at first. And then when I walk my feet back, I want to see that my feet and my legs, my feet first off end up hip distance apart, and my legs end up parallel to the wall that my hands are on, perpendicular to the floor. Now your arms remain active in this pose. You actively extend from the elbow to the heel of the hand and press the thumb and the index finger into the wall. At the same time, you turn the biceps up without losing that pressure into the inner heel of the hand, like the index finger knuckle of the hand. Elbow straight, press the index finger knuckle, turn the biceps up. Extend the sacrum bone at the base of the spine, the fused base of the spine vertebrae. With your knees straight, press them straight back. And look at your toes here. You should see that your toes, your second toes, are parallel to each other. Your big toes, because of that, your big toes are turned in slightly. Pull up on your patellas and turn your thighs. This time, turn them internally. From the outside, turn them in. Good, and then to release the pose, walk the feet in back to the wall. And come back to your mat. If you had to leave your mat. So that was half forward extension, Ardha Uttanasana. Another option, if you don't have a good wall space for that, if you're, for whatever reason, I don't see why you wouldn't have a wall space, but you could also do it on 2 bricks. So the next pose we're going to be doing is Parsvottanasana, side extension. So you're going to place your bricks to the right side of your mat, and you'll step your feet wide, and you're going to have your hands on your hips. And you're going to turn the feet to the right, so turn the left toes in. This time the left foot is going to turn in more. It's going to turn in about 45 degrees more than the previous standing poses. Your right foot still turns out 90 degrees. With your hands on your hips, you turn your hips and your chest to the left, or rather the right. And now from here, we're actually going to do Tadasana with the arms and the upper body. So take your hands off your hips, extend your elbows straight, extend the fingers toward the floor, and go for Tadasana from the waist up. So roll the shoulders down the back and extend from the shoulder joint to the fingers, lift the chest up. Now with that straight spine, go to your feet and adjust your feet. So press the back heel down, press the left front thigh back to press back into that left heel. Spread the right toes forward, press them down. And with those press points into the feet and with the Tadasana spine, now turn the hips even more so that your hips are square to the wall that you're facing. Keep the knees straight, patellas pulling up. Keep Tadasana spine as you extend forward and place your hands on your bricks. Press your right thigh, or rather your right hip back and your left thigh back. Extend your chest forward like Tadasana. Look forward even. Pick your head up and look forward. So towards that wall that you were facing just a minute ago. Extend the chest toward that wall. Press the hips back, press the left front thigh back, extend the chest forward. And then take the hands to the hips, inhale to come up. Turn, if you have to grab your blocks, you do that. You grab the blocks on the way up, turn the chest, turn the feet, place the blocks around the other foot. And take the hands to the hips just to set the pose up. Turn your right toes in 45 degrees, left foot out 90. You double check all that. And then with your hands on your hips, you lift the chest and then Tadasana, extend the arms. It's Tadasana from the waist up, mountain pose from the waist up. So with the arms extended, extend from the back neck to the fingers. Lift the chest and then press down into your right heel. Press the right front top thigh back. And then press down the left toes, pull up on the patellas, and turn the hips and the chest to the left. Extend up the spine, lift the chest, extend the arms, and then extend forward. Keep Tadasana spine as best you can. Don't allow the shoulders to roll forward. As you extend forward to place the hands on the bricks, you may need, if this is too much for you just on one brick, you might need to use the chair or even use the second set of bricks underneath. But keep the Tadasana spine. Keep the chest lifting. Pull back the left outer hip. Press back the front top right thigh. And extend the chest forward. Flatten the spine even more. Flattening the spine is the result of extending the chest. So pull the hips back, press the sacrum bone back, and extend the chest forward as if you were going to draw your chest or someone who's pulling your rib cage over your left leg. And then to release, hands on the hips, inhale to come up. Turn your feet. Turn the feet parallel to each other. We're going to take the next pose from this foot position. So Prasarita Padottanasana, we're done. That's the next pose. So you're going to walk your feet a little bit wider. We're done with Prasarita. We're done with Parsvottanasana. Now we're moving on to Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward extension. So you have your hands on your hips. You have the feet a little bit wider now. Second toe parallel. And in a similar way here, we're going to extend the arms like in Tadasana. So extend the arms alongside the body. Your hands will go a little bit behind your thighs. Lift the front hip creases up. And now press your toes down and press down your outer heels. It's almost like if somebody put a little piece of paper between your outer edge of your foot from the pinky toe to the outer heel, and you're trying to press down into that tiny little piece of paper so they couldn't pull it out if they tried to. Press that outer edge of the heel and then lift the chest. From the back shoulder, extend through the pinky finger. And keep the back shoulder and back neck extending downward, like you're actually extending so much that you're trying to stretch the skin on the back of your neck. Keep that, but just bend your elbows and take your hands to your hips. The skin of the back of the neck continues to stretch by the action of your shoulders. The papers continue to get stamped down onto the ground by the action of your knees pulling up and your heels pressing down. And then extend forward. Keep that Tadasana chest the whole time, then take the hands down to the floor, have the index fingers parallel to each other, the hands right underneath the shoulders with straight elbows. Turn the biceps forward. Drive the chest forward. At the same time, you press the sacrum bone back. Press the outer heels down, press the toes down. And the more you press the heels and the toes down, the more the kneecaps lift, the more the thighs become firm and alert. Turn the biceps forward, extend the chest forward. And we're just doing this concave back version of the pose today, so lift the chest even more. Broaden out the backs of your legs. And inhale to release. Take the hands to the hips. And here you'll just walk the feet together. Okay. And once the feet are together, we're going to transition to a seated pose. So that was Prasarita Padottanasana, wide leg forward extension. Now we're going to sit in Swastikasana. So you're going to take your bolster, place the bolster back on your mat. You're going to start off actually, before we sit in simple cross leg, we'll sit in Dandasana first with the thighs pretty straight, the legs extended in staff pose. And you're going to bend up your left knee. You're going to place the left foot underneath the left thigh, but you want to keep the foot in a little bit of a dorsiflexion and a little bit of a pronation, so that when you place the foot, I'm going to show it with mine, the foot shouldn't flatten out like a blade. The foot should stay slightly pronated and dorsiflexed. Now you don't have to overdo it, but the idea is that when you place the left foot under the right thigh, the natural tendency is that foot would want to collapse and your inner ankle would want to shorten if you did nothing. So you press the outer edge of the foot down and extend the big toe side of the foot away from the ankle and bring in the other foot as well. So it's not the maximum amount of effort. Like if you put too much into that, your feet will harden and you'll start to lift your knees away from your feet. But it is just enough effort to keep the feet active so that the feet don't completely collapse. So this is Swastikasana. We're going to do a simple twist in Swastikasana, simple cross-legged. So for Parsva Swastikasana, we'll twist to the right first. Take your left hand over to your right knee. Take your right hand behind you. Lift your chest and then turn. Lift the chest and turn. And when you turn, roll your left shoulder down your back and press the left shoulder blade over the right leg. Most of us here stop at the shoulder blade about aligned where the shoulder blade would stack over our pubis. That's where a lot of the twist stops. So then keep it going. Press the shoulder blade forward to press the shoulder blade all the way around, the left shoulder blade all the way around to the right thigh. Your your right hand will go behind you, either cup shape the hand on the floor, or you can place the hand on a brick. If you begin to lean back and arch the spine back to the right, then you would definitely take the hand to the brick. And then inhale back to center. Keep the feet active, lift the chest, extend the spine up. Take the right hand to the left knee. And this is a pulling action, like you are pulling up on that left knee. So you're not actually trying to lift the knee away from the foot, but still it is a strong pull on that left knee. Roll the shoulders down your back, extend the chest to extend the spine, and turn. It's fine to have a little bit of a bend here in the right elbow. Press that right shoulder blade over the left leg. Don't stop at the middle. Keep turning. Keep turning until that shoulder blade approaches the leg. Or stacks over the leg, I should say. And inhale, come back to center. Straighten your legs out in front of you. And then take the opposite cross. So bend in the right leg first this time, and then take in the left. Keep the feet active, that little bit of dorsiflexion, that little bit of pronation, That keeps the feet from just going limp and flat on the ground. Press the outer edges of the feet down, lift up the chest. And you can feel if you press the outer edges of the feet too much, your groins will harden. If you're not seated on enough support, like some of you really might need basically 2 bolsters, if you're not seated on enough, the groins will also harden. So be up on enough support and don't overdo the foot action, but don't let the feet go to sleep either. It's kind of this middle ground. So we're going to go to the right once again. Take the left hand to the right knee, turn to the right. Keep the feet alert, dorsiflex, pronate the feet. Pull the hand on the right knee and take the shoulder blade over the right leg. Left shoulder blade stacks over the leg. But that side of the body continues to extend. The sides of the trunk continue to extend up. Turn by pressing the shoulder blade over the leg. Then inhale to come back to center. And turn the opposite way. Extend the spine up. Hold the left knee with the right hand. Pull on that knee to help revolve to the left. From your back, neck, and top shoulder, extend to the right elbow. Press that right shoulder blade forward like you were going to press the shoulder blade through the lung. Keep turning. And inhale to come back to center. So that completes our Sukhasana, also known as Swastikasana, the simple cross-legged twist. The next pose is going to be Baddha Konasana with support. So we're going to be doing this with the back supported against the wall. I'm pretty close to my wall back here, so I'm just going to push my bolster back so that my bolster is flush to that wall. If you don't have wall space, like if you're practicing as a duet, one of you could go against a sturdy chair or a couch, and one could take the wall space. So now for Baddha Konasana, I'm going to be bringing the feet. You'll also bring the feet in close, feet together, close to the base of the spine. I have my back to the wall. I bring my feet in as close as possible. Now, I get a little bit of foot pain here, like the bones of the sides of my feet. They're actually pretty bony outer edges of the feet. So to keep me in this pose without too much discomfort, I'm going to roll my mat over half. You could also use a blanket if you like. I think the mat is a little better because that stickiness is helpful. If you have a thick mat, then it might not matter. So now I'm going to take my hands next to me off of my support of the bolster, and I'm going to actively press my big toes together, actively press my inner heels together, and like in Vrikshasana, remember Vrikshasana, you were pressing the thigh into the foot and the foot into the thigh. Here too, I'm taking that same action, but I'm pressing the feet into each other. Pressing the big toes into each other. And as I press the big toes into each other, with effort, I take the knees down. I extend from the groin to the knee. I pull from the outer knee to the outer hip. Press the big toes together, press the big toe ball mount together, press the inner heels together. And the more you press the big toes and the big toe ball mounts together, the more your knees will go down. It's somewhat of a subtle thing. Keep pressing, keep releasing the knees down, and then lift the chest up. Roll the shoulders down the back. Now to release the feet, take the hands, use your hands to just walk your feet a few inches away from your thighs and your groins, and then use your hands to help support the knees as you extend them back. Straighten the legs back to Dandasana. So the next pose, that was Baddha Konasana, bound angle. Next pose is Vajrasana, which means the invincible pose. Vajra is invincibility or power. Also sometimes, oh, there's a lot of definitions or translations of that Sanskrit word. So, but this is very similar to Virasana. Virasana is hero's pose. In Vajrasana, it's basically hero's pose with your knees and your feet pretty close together. Your knees and your feet aren't all the way together, but you sit down onto your heels. And the first time we do this pose, we're going to take a blanket and we're going to place a blanket behind the backs of the knees. So to maximize the usefulness of this blanket, I'm going to lean forward. I actually put my head on the ground. I'm going to grab this blanket or bath towel or whatever props you have, and I'm going to pull that in close under the knee joint, into the back of the knee joint, and then sit down. And although I'm primarily seated on blanket, I should still feel as though I'm seated on my heels, like I can feel the heels underneath the blanket. If this is still too much for your knee joint, like if the stretch in the knee joint, there should be some stretch there, but if it's too severe, you could take a second blanket and just place a thin second blanket, or even a folded second blanket, or if that's still not enough, you could even take and roll a whole blanket up like this to make a big kind of thick roll. And then you sit tall. And that roll, of course, would go between the heels and the buttocks. And you could just keep adding stuff. And if 2 blankets is not enough, then you might end up using a block on the ground and a block on top of the feet as well. Blankets are going to be better for on top of the feet, though. So here we're going to be in this pose in the legs and do Parvatasana, the mountain peak pose. The hand position in Parvatasana is often called, when we do it standing, it's called Urdhva Baddha Angulyasana, upward bound fingers. If we do it seated, it's called Parvatasana, seated mountain pose. So interlace your fingers, have the thumb tips touching, the fingers interlaced all the way to the webbing of the hand, and then turn the palms forward. Lift the chest, and it's very easy in this pose to tilt your pelvis forward and throw your lumbar forward toward the abdomen. So take the very top of the buttock down, neutralize the lumbar spine, take the buttock down, press the butt toward the heels or into that blanket. Keep that neutral lumbar, straighten the elbows, and then extend the arms overhead. Now, when you extend the arms straight, and then to move the arms further back, move the arms back, just press the arms back behind the ears. Keep the elbows straight, press the biceps and the upper arm bones back behind the ears. Don't throw the head forward to do this. Keep the head extending. Keep the lumbar neutral. Press the shoulder blades forward. And then press the arms back even more. Press the arms back even more. Elbows straight turn. And then release the arms down. Change the interlace. Put the other index finger on top. Turn the palms forward once again. Buttock down. Spine extends, chest lifts. Extend the arms up. So at some point you might find that the elbows bend. Even if you're here and the elbows start to bend to get the arms further up, that's where you stop. The priority is to keep the elbows straight and the fingers interlacing. So press the index finger knuckle up, straighten the elbows, and then from wherever the arms are, start to move them back in the direction of going behind the ears. Press the shoulder blades forward, extend up through the arms. Elbows straighter, press the shoulder blades forward, extend up through the arms. Go ahead and release the arms forward and down. So we're going to repeat the pose, but we're going to move deeper into Vajrasana, powerful pose. So to do this, whatever your amount of support is, you're going to attempt to reduce it. So for me, I'm just going to completely remove this blanket, and without any support, sit down onto my heels. If that's too intense for your knees, you can, of course, keep some blanket there. Like the knees, the body should be challenged, not complacent, but also you have to respect the pain if the pain shows up. Like if the knee joints give a sharp pain rather than like a dull stretching kind of ache, then you might have to keep that same level of support. But if you're using a blanket roll, last time you used a blanket roll or something like that, maybe the second round through the pose, you open that blanket roll up just a little bit to reduce its height just a little bit. So you're just kind of like taking a slightly deeper extension into the pose. Same Parvatasana. Interlace fingers, have the thumb tips touching, turn the palms forward. And then extend the arms overhead. With the elbows straight, press up the knuckles. And here, press the shoulder blades to get the arms to go behind the ears. Press the shoulder blades forward. Extend up through the hands. And it's not just the arms that are extending up. The arms extend up, but as the arms extend up, feel your whole rib cage and your whole upper body extend up. Starting at your seat, like the butt goes down into the heels, the seat is relaxed, but from the sides of the waist up through the ribs, all the way to the heels of the hands, extend up. Then release the arms forward and down. Take the other interlace. Extend the palms forward. And now as you take the arms up, feel that the arms begin their ascent, like the whole body begins this ascension process from the sides of the hips. Extend up even more through the arms, through the ribs. Keep the lumbar neutral so that it's not a back bend, just a total spinal extension. And release the arms forward and down. So if you can manage to keep your knees bent, we're going to transition to Adho Mukha Virasana, forward-facing hero pose. If you have to straighten the knees, that's fine. But if you can manage to keep them bent and that's not agitating you too much, you walk the knees out wide so the knees are now a little bit wider than hip distance apart, so you can get a bolster between your knees. I've got my bolster set up about, it's not totally in front of my legs. I've got my bolster, I don't know if you can see it, but I pull it in about 6 inches in from the edge where my knees line up. Then with my bolster pulled in, I put a blanket on top of that bolster, folded once. That is going to support my forehead. Then I have another blanket just in case my butt lifts away from my heels. I walk my hands forward. If my butt stays on my heels, then we're good. If the butt lifts away from the heels, you'll place an extra blanket or an extra support back there, like a towel or something like that. You place the chest on the bolster and release the head forward. The forehead should rest on the blanket so that there's a little space for your face and you can breathe comfortably. Walk your hands forward to straighten the elbows. And you can have your hands a little bit out to the sides. It's not going to be much, but if the bolster and the blanket is crowding your arms, you can take your arms slightly into a V shape. I'd say it's about the minimum amount possible so that you're not fighting against the props to get the elbows to straighten. Press the hips and the buttocks down and back as you press the chest down and back. Face is soft, forehead is soft. Keep the arms active. Press the index finger, turn the biceps up. Press the index finger, turn the biceps up. Allow the face to pacify. So it's a pretty quiet pose, Adho Mukha Virasana, forward-facing hero's pose. It's not completely passive like a complete restorative pose or Shavasana for that matter, but it is pretty passive. You can relax the face and the throat. All the features of the face relax, but the chest still presses forward, the arms remain active, the hips press back. And then walk the hands in toward the knees to release the pose. You're going to push your bolster or your support, whatever's there, off your mat. You'll take support out from between the heels and the buttocks if you need to. Now, we still have the knees bent. We've had the knees bent for a while, and we're going to try to keep them bent by just coming up a little bit, walking the knees over to a side. So you're coming off of your mat, and then you're going to roll with your knees bent back onto your mat. So you're lying on your back with your knees bent into your chest for Pavan Muktasana, wind removing pose. So both knees go into the chest. We're going to release the legs after this pose. So they're in this deep flexion with the knees. We've been there for several minutes. We'll try to keep it going. Draw the knees in close to the chest. Wrap your arms around your legs so that you hold the opposite elbow and hook your knee into the joint of the elbow. So you're holding your opposite elbow and your knee joint is hooked in the bent elbow joint. As close to that as you can get. If you can just manage to get your shins around your forearms and hold the opposite hand, that's also good. But at whatever point you end up at, first, flatten out your cervical spine. Pull your shoulders down your back. Flatten out the neck. You're not going to actively totally get the whole cervical spine down. There will be a little bit of a gap between the back of the neck and the floor, but don't just let the head fly back so you're not overarching your neck. If that's impossible, then you'd place a blanket under your head. So flatten out the neck as much as you can, and if your face still is parallel to the ceiling, then you'd place a bolster under that, or rather a blanket under the head. It could even be a bolster if it's that extreme for you. And then with your neck somewhat flattened out, your face parallel to the ceiling, then press the sacrum down. So the butt is probably away from the floor. Press the butt down, press the back of the neck down. And then now take several slow, deep breaths. The feet here are passive, so don't flex up the feet. And to release the pose or release your legs, you're going to go to Supta Tadasana, reclined mountain pose. So you will extend the legs straight. Feels really nice to release that. Nice in the hips, nice in the knees. So it's not Shavasana yet. We actually don't have Shavasana in the sequence. We just have a restorative pose at the end. So for right now, it's Supta Tadasana, reclined mountain pose. This is not in the diagrams for the sequence, but it's a pretty logical thing to do. You've had your knees bent so deeply for so long now, fully press the backs of the knees down into the floor, keep the feet flexed up and active, press the backs of the thighs into the ground. A lot of the body can be pretty passive here. The spine is long, the chest lifts, the arms extend, but it doesn't need to be your best Uttanasana ever. It's just mainly get your legs active to get the knees to straighten. That's the goal here. Keep pressing the backs of the knees down, turn the thighs in. Now you're going to bend up the knees, turn to the side and come back onto hands and knees, or come to hands and knees. And now we're coming to hands and knees to Chaturangdasana, four-limbed pose to prepare for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So this is four-footed pose, or rather four-limbed pose, sometimes called table, and we're preparing for dog. So have your index fingers parallel to each other. Walk the knees back so that they're back from being under the hips. Press down the index fingers, turn the biceps up. You're going to straighten the knees here, lift the hips up, keep the heels away from the ground, come up high onto the toes as you straighten the knees. Keep the elbows straight. Now look at your feet, see that the second toes are parallel to each other. Press the thighs back, lift the hips up, and then ascend the heels, reach the heels back and down. More back than down. Press the shins back, the front thighs back. Straighten the elbows, turn the biceps up, turn the shoulders up. And bend the knees and come down. So for our final pose in the class, we are going to set up for a restorative pose, Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're going to set up, this is reclined bound angle. There's quite a lot of different prop setups for this pose. I'm going to set up with a bolster, just like I had for Adho Mukha Virasana. I've got the bolster set up, blanket on the bolster. And now to bind the feet, there's a few options. You could use a blanket to bind the feet, or you can use a belt. So if you're using the belt, I'm just going to face you to show with a bind of the belt, although I would normally go back across the bolster. I place the belt around the feet. The belt would go over top of one thigh, around, make sure that the belt goes underneath the buttocks, not on the lumbar. And then you'd loop your belt and pull and slap and get the feet as close as possible before lying back. Now, if you don't have a belt this belt's I think 10 feet. If you don't have one that's at least 8 feet, the belt can be somewhat difficult to use. You can also use a blanket. So a blanket works pretty much the same as the belt. You would open it up, fold it over, and make a roll in the blanket. Like this, like kind of a long rolled blanket. And similar to the belt, the feet would go together, but this time just the blanket goes over top of the feet and pulls in close, like that. So it goes over top of the feet, pulls in close. I rarely use the blanket setup. It's actually quite nice. So I did it this morning for the first time in a while. It was really pleasant, so I'm going to do that one here. Just remember that your butt is off of your bolster, and then once you lie back onto your bolster, you get the blanket out from under your shoulders, so it's just supporting your neck and your head. It's not under your shoulders at all. And then I hop my butt a little bit toward my feet. I give a little scoot of the buttock to elongate the lumbar. And the way I have the blanket set up, when I'm using the blanket support for the feet, the blanket perfectly supports the thighs, which is kind of why it's a nice prop setup. If you're using the belt setup, that's fine. Just support the thighs with some blocks or some blankets, couch cushions, whatever you have that'll support the thighs. And then rest the arms out to the side, a comfortable distance away from the body. Palms up. And then close the eyes. Allow the body to rest. As we've just gone through this sequence of poses, and we haven't taken too many breaks along that sequence. In a home practice, it can be nice to pause every so often after a pose or after several poses and just reflect on what you feel and what the impact of the poses are. So this is our pose to be introspective, reflective, and feel the impact of our practice. So when we use that word feel in yoga, we're referring not like thoughts and emotions, but more to raw physical and physiological sensations. So certain areas of the body might feel very stimulated or invigorated from the practice. Certain areas might feel very passive or soft or open. Some areas might even feel other textures and qualities of sensation like sizzling or buzzing, a calmness or a spaciousness. And so it's almost like you're just observing a radar screen. And we use these descriptors like open or sizzling or calm or open, but see if you can detect and observe your body prior to any of those concepts. Direct, non-conceptual awareness of the experience of a body, resting in Supta Baddha Konasana. Observe the breath. Don't really change the breath, but just also be observant or detect the breath experience. Let go even more. Resting back into non-conceptual awareness. And to return, softly start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. And then if you can release your belt or your blanket from around your feet, do that now and attempt to just use the left hand to help your left knee over to the right and roll off of your props to the right. Support the head and the arm. Face or head rests on the right arm. And then slowly come up to a seated position. Namaste. May peace be with us all. Om Shanti.